Hello, everybody. I started the stream, instantly dropped all of the wool that I prepared. I have to go get that. 1 second. Okay. It's been one of those days. There we go. Hey, Ciaro. Nice to have you in. So I prepared 14 roll mags, which I just grabbed a whole bunch of fleece and put it in a bag along with my cards to bring to work, thinking I'd card like 1 or 2 just to get a head start, and I carded literally the whole bag. And then was sitting there for another 10, 15 minutes thinking man, I should have brought more. So I'm hoping that the Rolex that we have, which you can actually kind of see the color of, at least on my end, that's pretty good. Yeah, with the Rolex that we have, I'm hoping that'll be enough for a full stream, because I'm not gonna lie, my wrists are not happy after I did all that, so I kind of don't want to be doing more today. But we'll see how long these last us. I mean, we're not spinning very thick, right? That's what we're working with. And I don't want this to be that much thicker. I do want it to be a little thicker, but yeah, not much. Just enough to maybe bulk up the yarn a tiny bit. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'm really excited to see how this yarn is going to turn out. The more work I put into it, the more this actually should be pretty cool. I think it'll be really pretty. Also, so I finally did some research into what you need to mordant and dye with cotton. And it turns out basically a whole bunch of things I don't have and I've never used before. So I bought them. So, because they're all kind of household chemicals that are pretty cheap. So yeah, I bought them and they should be arriving soonish. I think tomorrow, possibly. Which means, oh, wrong way. Which means that I might actually be able to test out dyeing some of this stuff, which is really exciting. I still don't know if I am going to work with all of it as plain white. To be honest, I'm sure I'll get sick of it eventually, but also cotton is novel enough that it's not like spinning white wool. I really hate spinning white wool. So it's still a little too novel for that to be an issue. So I don't know. We might dye it as yarn as I finish it, or instead we might dye it as fiber. But at least this means I can now start working on that, start experimenting. So I'm excited because it's been a while since I was a full-on beginner at dyeing. Because I've been dyeing wool for, oh my God, almost a decade. It seems like less than that, but literally almost a decade. So yeah, I'm excited to start on something that I know. Well, I know stuff about it, but it's entirely different, it seems. Interesting. What colors are you thinking you might dye it? I don't know. If I'm being honest, most of the time when I'm doing natural dye, I'm not necessarily going for specific colors. I'm just dyeing. And I get what I get, and that is not something that upsets me. I'm almost always happy with whatever color I get. Now, I might be trying to do a theme, my, what is it? Clun Forest and Shetland Cross Fleece. That one I'm trying to do is sort of a yellow and green theme. But it's rare that I'm trying to do something like that. Most of the time, I'm just doing whatever. So I've been saving some of my avocado pits and peels, for one thing. And since cotton is so light, I feel like even though I only have a few, they might take me pretty far. So that would be fun. And then I also have quite a lot of onion skin, both yellow and red, because I'm just always saving that when I cook, and then I use it pretty infrequently. It's not like the most exciting dye material, but um, it's a good staple to have, I think, and it's easy to accumulate. You're gonna ask what dye stuff I have? Yeah, that really is the main deciding factor for me. It's too early for buckthorn berries, but when they do come out, I have some plans, and I'm gonna try really, really hard to actually get a blue with them, even though it's a huge pain in the ass because you have to individually peel each tiny berry. um, but it's worth it. Like, I got a really cool blue. I only got a tiny amount of it, but I got a really cool blue on some wool. And I'd like to know if that also works for cotton. And then also, like, there's Oregon grapes around here. They have a couple other names too. That's the name I know them by. They're not ready yet, but when they are ready, there's actually quite a few colors you can get out of them. So I'll definitely be dyeing with those. But yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I've dyed most of my wool at the moment. I have like some straggler bits, parts of fleeces where I was just dyeing like a couple handfuls at a time. So I'm sure I'll get to those as well. But yeah, mostly I just have this cotton. My other, my other cotton summer blanket is, I'm looking at it right now. It's red, white, yellow, and blue, which I kind of like, but I'm not too fussed. Natural dye isn't something where I tend to care about the color very much, and even less so if it's not an item that I plan on wearing. So yeah, I'm just excited to do it. You haven't ever done natural dyeing, I really recommend it if you are an enjoyer of color at all. I feel like working with natural dye or natural pigments, it really changes how you think about color, or at least it did for me. Like, it completely changed how I experienced color and how I thought about color. And I think one of the main reasons for that is color's really easy to take for granted. Maybe just in the modern world. Come on. Maybe just in the modern world where we kind of, you want a shirt, get a blue shirt. You want a red shirt, get a red shirt. Whatever. You can kind of just get whatever the hell you want because of acid dyes. So, wow. The spinning wheel already is annoyed at me. Okay, this is how it is. But when you're doing natural dye, suddenly that's no longer the case. It's difficult to get any one color. It's really difficult. It helps if you're very meticulous and you take a lot of notes, which I am not. But that does help achieve consistent colors. But the other thing is that, like, it sort of makes you appreciate each year and each season because you're always looking for seasonal things that are dye materials. And also, the colors that they produce can vary year to year because, the temperature and the rain amount that you've had can really change things. And I think there's also other factors as well, but those are the only ones that I really understand. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it made it easier for me to appreciate the natural world. Just kind of odd, but I'm happy about it. It seems physically harder to do, so you've stuck to acid dyes so far. I don't know that it is. I haven't found it to be any more difficult than anything else I do. Like, I feel like, especially if you already do acid dyes, you already know you have to lift a heavy pot of water, et cetera, et cetera. But really, natural dyes, other than gathering them, in which case you got to play to your strengths on that one. But other than gathering them, I don't really think it is any more difficult at all. That's just my opinion, but yeah. Might be worth a shot if you're interested. You have some undyed cotton yarn you got years ago, and you're gonna dye it with henna. You have a ton of henna because that's how you dye your hair. Oh, nice. You have a lot of other yarn to get through first. Nice. That sounds cool. I didn't know that henna could be used like as a fabric or fiber dye. That's really awesome. What is it made of? Like, I know a fair amount about it, but I just realized I have no idea what it's made of. You can't go out foraging for dye stuff, so you'd have to buy it or stick to kitchen waste. Kitchen waste is like, it's still very rewarding. Like um, my avocados are really quite fun to collect. Like, you do have to scrub out the pits a little bit for the best color, but that's not too difficult. If you can wash dishes for about 30 seconds, then you can probably scrub the pits out, or scrub the peels out, really. The pits only take half a second, which, yeah, it's not too terribly hard. At least for me, that's obviously super subjective. And then also, like, collecting onion skins, I like doing that too. Like, these are things that would be thrown away in most cases. At best composted, which is still good, but you know, you can enjoy the color out of them. Henna tree. Huh. Interesting. I didn't know it came from a tree. Wow. That's very cool. You can't, but your spouse does dishes. I mean, if your spouse would be willing to quickly scrub out some avocado bits or avocado peels, you may be in business. I'm just saying. And I'm sure that there's even more that I haven't used. Like, some of this stuff is definitely regional. Those are just what's easy to get for me. But yeah, I don't know. Might be worth giving a shot. I really enjoy it. I've never done acid dyes or vit dyes. The only non-natural dye I've ever done is food coloring. And I really hated it. It didn't work well for me at all. So I've just been doing natural dye over these years. And it's definitely gotten more difficult as I've gotten more disabled, but still able to do it. I just have to be really careful. But I enjoy it a lot, so it's worth it for me. Maybe you will ask them to start saving onion skins to try. Nice. Just the white ones don't have any color. That's probably obvious, but just in case it's not, the white ones have no color. It's really the yellow/orange ones and the red/purple ones that have color. So those are the ones you want to save. I actually switched. I used to eat a lot of scallions. I think it's scallions. Not the ones that are like long, thin, and green, but the other kind. Yeah, I used to eat a lot of those, but you can't use them as a dye material, or at least they really just don't produce any color. Yeah, so I stopped eating those, even though I do think they taste better. And now I just eat yellow or red mushrooms, or yellow or red onions. And I think, you know, like, maybe my food suffers a tiny bit. For me, it's worth it because I do like having an ongoing supply, you know? Do the red ones, oh, I missed a bit. Let's see. The acid dyes, or you like the acid dyes because they fully adhere to the wool and there's no color waste. That is also true of natural dyes, thankfully. I mean, if you add too much color to the pot, then obviously there's some left over, but I think that's true of all dyes, as far as I understand. Yeah, I would feel bad tipping color down the drain too, for sure. Do the red ones make red dye or green? It depends on how you mordant them. You can get green if you use a copper mordant, although I will say it's difficult. Like, I've coaxed green out of red onion skins maybe once or twice and not gotten that any of the other times. They can make it good like yellow, even though they're red. Both them and the yellow onion skins can make yellow. They can also make sort of an orangish, and if you have a really high concentration of red onion skins to wool, then you can get sort of a brick red at times. I think onion colors might be seasonal because I get such wildly different results every time I do it, and I've dyed with so many onion skins at this point. I feel like it cannot just be me messing it up every time. Like, I think they're actually kind of cool. But I really like that about them because they're one of the easiest dye materials. They don't smell absolutely revolting when they're on the stove, unlike the vast majority of other natural dyes. And they're very low stress compared to many other dyes. Chuck, what are you doing back there, buddy? You're being very suspicious. Come on. Come here. Very suspicious indeed. You kind of forgot most plants just make yellow. Yeah, genuinely. And I think, like, where'd she go? Oh, she's lying down. Okay. I think the other thing is yellow plants, for whatever reason, seem to have a much higher likelihood of yielding color, whereas other color plants, it's very hit and miss. But yellow, like if you see something that's yellow, there seems to be a pretty damn good chance that you'll get yellow dye out of it. Whereas if you see a plant that's like blue, there's almost no way you're going to get blue out of it, and it's unlikely you'll get any color out of it at all. Good cat. She is a good cat, even when she's acting suspicious as hell. Hi, Jack. Say hi to the camera. Now that you've dust over your face, but they don't sweep in there. Hi. Oh, God. You could get into onion cultivation, but that is maybe not interesting. I mean, I find pretty much everything about onions to be interesting, and I was a gardener before I was too disabled, so I certainly would not mind hearing about onion cultivation. Neighbor also has a bunch of walnut trees. You could maybe get the fallen walnuts in the fall. Yeah, that is also a great way to get a nice like dark brown or black, or a light brown if you don't do it for too long. I think a lot of people, for some reason, do not like getting brown. And I mean, I think it's largely due to the fact that if you mess up, you're going to get brown. And it's easy to get brown. And so it's one of those, sort of like with yellow, like, you know, it's not very exciting. And also, it probably wasn't what you were going for. But for me, a lot of the time when I'm dyeing stuff, I just need it to not be white. Like, white fleece is so much easier to buy, so that's what I buy. It's also usually a lot cheaper. But I absolutely despise working with white fleece. And I'm not going to use something that's white because it's going to get stained, it's going to get ruined, and I just would rather it be like any other color at all. So I find that brown dyes, like, that's perfect for me. If it turns out dark brown, that is ideal because it's not white anymore. So that's perfect. So I really like walnut for that. I haven't gotten to use it yet, but I like the idea of it for that anyway. And there are a few things that I like that pretty much just produce brown, such as coffee and tea, which produce a brown. And so if you've got some really disgusting tea that you've tried and failed to drink, or some old coffee or something like that, You can absolutely use that to get an interesting brown. I think that like dyeing with food waste is really quite underrated, especially if you don't have the ability to compost, like I don't. Like I could have a tiny little tub of compost in my kitchen, I guess. I don't want to. I technically could, but then I actually have nowhere I can put it because we don't have a compost bin in my apartment compost. So like, yeah, I can't compost, but I can save all my food scraps to either turn into veggie stock, which is what I do with all the edible ones, or dyes, which is what I do with the inedible parts. You think brown is fine? Yeah, I like brown too. It's one of my favorite colors. And I tend to wear a lot of brown. I just think it looks nice. People don't tend to appreciate the different shades of brown, like the warm browns, the cold browns. It's just a lot. Like any other color, it can be extremely beautiful. One roll lag down. Oh my gosh, 20 minutes for one Rolex. Okay. Well, good news is I don't think we'll run out of Rolex, at least for today's stream. So that is good. And also, it filled up kind of more of the bobbin than I was expecting it to. That's also quite nice. Yeah, some browns are really nice. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. I think I really, like, I always liked brown, but I really, really got into browns when I started working with wood. Because, like, if you stare at enough wood, you realize, like, it can be so beautiful, and wood is pretty much always brown. So I gained an appreciation in that way, and then I went from there. I think at this point, there's really only one or two colors that I actively dislike. Like, at this point, pretty much all colors I think have their merits. I might not want to look at them because of migraine issues, but it doesn't mean I don't like them. I think the only two colors I dislike would be magenta and white. Not a fan of either of them at all. They both hurt my head so badly and my eyes, so not worth it. There's some off-whites I can get behind, but I also, like, even so, white is going to hurt my eyes so much. Better. It's technology connections on YouTube. Good video if you want to know how things work, like dishwashers and thermostats says. Brown is just orange with context. That's true. I feel like you can expand that even to say that brown is any color with context. Because you just add a couple more colors and, like, you've got brown. I like that saying. I like all colors, but don't want to wear most of them. Yeah, that is a mood. I pretty much exclusively wear brown, gray, or black. And I have no interest in wearing colors that are not brown, gray, or black. That's just all I like to wear. I've had multiple, like, naturally dyed ideas for, like, sweater vests and stuff that would be really colorful. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it would be a beautiful vest, and I would not ever wear it in public. Like, not ever. Which is kind of too bad, because now I have no idea what to do about it. We'll figure something out at some point, but, like, even my hats, it's really funny. I knit another hat to sort of act as more of a, like, summer hat, because the main one that I've been wearing that I knit last year which is brown, and has a tiny bit of other colors that have since faded in the sun, because it was like a really old dye job before I realized you needed mordant for light fastness, not just for adhesive. And I was using things that, they didn't need a mordant to fix things, but they would have needed it to keep the colors from fading in the light. But anyway, so I made another hat just to, have something cooler to wear in the summer because I'm always wearing a hat. I don't like not wearing hats. And I told my coworkers, like, oh yeah, I'm just making another hat. And I bring it in the next day to work on at work. And they're like, are you knitting another fucking brown hat? Like, what do you need 2 brown hats for? Why have you spent a cumulative, 30 hours on brown hats in the last 6 months alone? It's actually probably way higher than that, to be honest. But it's like, look, it's a good color for hats. Also, my hair was brown. I guess it is brown, technically speaking. I just shave it and keep it pretty much invisible and gone. That's my personal preference. And yeah, I'm just it just looks normal to me to have a brown thing covering my head, whether it's hair or a hat. So that's what I've been doing, and my coworkers think I'm very weird for it. I think it's kind of hilarious. I don't understand why they wouldn't do that. You guys are the weird ones here, if I'm being honest. Like teals and blues for wearing. Nice. Those sound pretty. I was worried that I wouldn't do a very good job prepping this, just because it's not a super easy fiber to prep. I don't know the breed because the seller didn't know the breed, but I would guess it's maybe some kind of blend, like Corridor and Merino would maybe be my guess. But really, it could be anything. But it just doesn't really open very nicely. And the other times that I've spun it, it was just super uneven because I didn't prep it well. So I was kind of resigning myself to having a super lumpy, poorly prepped other singles. But this is actually working really well. I'm happy with it. I'm almost wondering, because the bobbin is filling up so fast. I'm almost wondering if maybe I could scrap my initial idea and get even more yardage and just do 2 of these, not full bobbins. I would only need to fill it this much, but 2 of those and wind one off onto something else, and then then do a traditional 3-ply instead of a chain ply or actually, I don't know what you'd call it. When half of it is just sitting by itself, and then the other half is a 2-ply made by a ply bracelet. I don't know what you would call that, but that was my initial idea. And the only reason I really don't want to do that is I don't like doing ply bracelets with really thin yarns like this because they tangle so much more often, and it's just not worth the extra time it takes, in my opinion. So that's cool. The fact that this is working up so quickly, and I'm not spinning it thick either. I think I'm actually pretty much matching the diameter of the ones I already did. So yeah, it's been shockingly well. Actually, it's probably not shocking. It's because I'm working with wool, which is something that I know quite well, as opposed to cotton, which I'm still very much in the process of learning. I feel like that's half the fun of coming back to well, of learning something new and then coming back to your old thing, because it's like, oh my god, it's so easy. I took all this for granted. And now I'm not, and I can enjoy the fact that I built up a lot of muscle memory. I feel like that's usually the main thing. It's all about the muscle memory. For me, anyway. Oh, hi, Jenica. Sorry for the 20-minute wait. I don't like it either. I just don't really know what else to do to stop trolls, because trolls are definitely not going to wait 20 minutes, so it's been really effective so far against that. But thank you for waiting 20 minutes. I appreciate your patience. I think it sounds pretty rude to question why someone is knitting a particular color hat. I don't know. If I didn't know them very well, I would agree. In my case, we're all pretty friendly, and we have we banter a lot, so it didn't come off rude in this situation. But I can definitely see how it would in a lot of other ones, for sure. It's not a hat; it's a lo-fi wig. That would be off-putting to people. That would be very funny to say. I might have to remember that one and see if I can find a time to use it. You don't think that flying style has a name? I don't either. I don't think it's very common. It seems like it's one of those things that you're only really doing for a practicality standpoint, not from an effect standpoint, if that makes sense. Like chain flying and traditional three ply, there's a noticeable difference in the effect that you're going to get from one to the other. Right? So it makes sense that we have different names for them and we consider them very different things. But we don't necessarily have different names for, like, we have different names, we don't use them. For self-ply from a bracelet versus self-ply from a flying ball, like a center pole ball, not a flying ball. And I think the reason for that is because you get basically the same effect. Like, it doesn't actually affect anything, it doesn't matter. There's some debate on whether or not a center pole ball will affect the twist. I don't know. I don't use center ply balls, so I don't really care or know about it very much because it's not something that I'll run into ever. But yeah, it makes sense to me that it doesn't have a name, but it also makes it really difficult to describe what it is that I'm doing. I think, so my dye stuff is supposed to get in, not the materials, but the mordant and also something to scour it. That's supposed to get in tomorrow. So if it get in tomorrow, I think I'm gonna do a bit of a test, just on a little bit, just to see if using the correct mordants will stop it from, like, I don't know, almost shriveling and clumping up, which is what it did when I used wool dyes, or wool mordants rather. So yeah, I'm really hoping it doesn't do that, because that made it a lot more difficult to process. Like, it added a couple extra passes on there, and even so, it wasn't great. It was still noticeably a little bit harder and a little bit rougher. So I want to do a little bit of a test and just see if maybe I could get away with it. Because I really, if I can get away from having to spin a massive amount of white cotton, then I will. If I can't, that's okay, and I'll dye it as a yarn. But if I can, that's nice. So we'll see. Also, like, these avocado peels, they do last a long time, and you can freeze them too. But the color, like, the fresher they are, the better the color is. And after about a week, you lose a lot of the sort of soft pink and you start introducing some tan, which can still get some really nice, like, I don't know, dusty colors, which are pretty. But in this case, I kind of want to, it's been so long since I dyed with avocado. I haven't eaten a lot of them recently. They've been really expensive the last few years, and I got some for very cheap recently, and they're delicious. So yeah, excited to dye with avocado. I can fit it into my schedule this week, or this weekend rather. What mordant am I going to use? So I'm going to do a tannin bath first. Very annoyingly, I actually had a whole huge tannin jar, just from some foraged acorns and stuff like that. And it was very good. It was very effective, and I didn't bring it with me when I moved. I threw it away because I had never actually used it, and I was like, I don't know what I have this for. Like, what's the point? And I still don't know why I made it because I hadn't been thinking of cotton at the time. But anyway, so I had to buy some more. And I just bought powder this time, powdered oak galls, which should be just fine. So I'm going to do sort of a pre-mordant in tannin, I think is what that would be considered. And then after that, I'm going to use alum. Use some alum because I already have alum. And then I think there's something else I bought that I might use as well, but I don't quite remember. Like I also bought several different cleaning like powders, so washing soda, and then also borax to help strip the cotton. And also because I need to strip some of my clothes as well, and I've been putting it off a while. So I bought those just for stripping things because I ran out, and then I had been using my roommates for a while. So when I moved out of there, I couldn't really bring any with me. So I restocked on that. Don't quite remember if I got anything else. I think between the tannins and the alum, I should at least be able to get something. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the best method. That is a cat litter bag. That's not even a food bag. She likes rustling food bags to try and get my attention because she knows it annoys the absolute fuck out of me. But it's not effective though because she always picks the litter bag for some reason. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still learning about copper mordants. They're very, very different from wool mordants. The only one that I have that I can use for both is the iron mordant, the homemade iron mordant that I've had for the last, oh my god, like 7 years, I think, which I just made by putting some rusty nails in a jar of vinegar and then leaving it there for 7 years and using it all the time. It's really quite effective. It's also really harsh. So I kind of want to experiment with how much iron tends to harsh cotton. Because it harshes wool, like, really, but I don't know if it'll do that with cotton. I wouldn't necessarily be shocked if it didn't. Wow. Wow, almost done with the first pass on the ball. That's pretty cool. I don't know why, but I was thinking this was going to take quite a long time. Like maybe multiple days just to fill up the first one, but now that I'm doing it, I'm like, no way. I think we can get this one done probably by the end of the stream. I mean, it's only been 40 minutes, and I don't need to fill it all the way, so we've got like double the amount of time we've used left. And I think that might be enough. So that would be exciting. But then we would still need to do a whole other bobbins worth. Because I don't think it would be a good supply. I guess I could do a little sample, but like it's less about how it would look. I think it would look fine, and more about the durability and abrasion resistance and all of that. I don't like making yarns that I know will be fragile, because I'm really hard on all of the yarns that I use, and I tend to frog things quite a few times. So if you make yarn that is not very abrasion resistant, and then you try and frog it like 5 or 6 times in a row, that will not go well for you. I learned that one the hard way. Trying to frog some really beautiful, incredibly soft, because it's very underspun cashmere. And you can imagine how that one went out. I think I literally just put it all back in my scrap wool bag and carted it back into other things after putting a ton of effort into spinning and prepping and spinning and then knitting it. Yeah, it happens. So that's why I go for abrasion resistance over anything else a lot of the time. It's one of those things where it's like, if it matters to you, it's very important. But if you don't lead a lifestyle where that is an issue, like, you're a little bit more free to do it. Was it because I was comparing it to the wool warm-up I've been doing for just a short period? I think it probably was. At least subconsciously, if nothing else. I was thinking like, okay, so I spun this in about a week, which is true, but it was not a long day of spinning each time. It's not a spinning wool. So yeah, it probably was that. But also, this is just like so much faster to work with than the other wool one. Because the other one, it's a bat, and I didn't pre-draft it. And when you don't pre-draft bats, I feel like what happens is you end up with some like sort of fragmented pieces and chunks and strands, and you have to try and unify them. And so, like, it's not that it's difficult; it can be, but it's not inherently difficult, and it's not inherently bad or annoying either. But it does take more time, rather than just plain drafting, because you're like sort of picking and choosing, moving stuff around, maybe just working on one chunk at a time, you know. So I think like inherently spinning from Rolex is, for me at least, faster than spinning from bats. I spun a fair amount of bats and a lot of Rolex, so that's something that I've noticed over a long period of time for me personally. So what is everybody else up to? If not just chilling and enjoying the stream. Any projects going on? You've used so few bats. I guess if you don't have a way to make them, that makes sense. Like, they tend to be a lot more expensive and not quite as accessible when you're looking for various different preps. So that makes sense. I do love a good bat, though. They could be a pretty fun experience. Very different from spinning roving, if you do it right. Making a bunny with this fun chenille yarn you got. Ooh, that sounds nice. I love making animals. I'm so bad at it, though. So that's awesome. I hope it goes well. It's really hot here today, so actually mostly just lying in front of the fan. That is relatable. I had to run my AC like on high before starting the stream because that white thing in the background right there is the AC. So I can't sit here with the AC on while streaming because you'd only hear the AC and I'd get freezing. So I had to like blast it for 40 minutes after I got home and then turn it off right before I went on stream. And the temperature is already rising again. But that's okay. You're on Sleeve Island on your latest knitting project, so you're sort of avoiding it. Oof. Sleeve Island does not necessarily sound like the funnest place. And I'm sure you got it, though. I believe in you. You can do it. Honestly, I'm impressed that you're knitting a sweater. I find sweater knitting to be some sort of highly advanced black magic that I can't figure out. So anytime anybody is knitting a sweater, I'm like, damn, that is cool as fuck. I'm really impressed. Oh, John. I guess you guys probably can't see her, but she jumped up on a chair that has about, I don't know, maybe 8 inches of clearance under the desk. I don't know why she likes sitting up there. And she's just sort of like squished into a corner and staring at me. Don't know why she's doing that, but she is. Nobody can stop her. Actually, I think it's just because it has a good vantage point with the wheel. She likes watching it. She doesn't trust it. It's like my enemy, the spinning. 2x2 rib sleeve island too. Oh god, that's awful. 2x2 rib is already painful enough. God, you can't totally zone out in front of a show because of that. Yeah, that's rough. Like honestly, I would rather do I think almost any other ribbing than 2x2. For some reason, that one feels like such a slog. It's beautiful, and so that is a great reason to choose it. But the slogginess, I can't. So I was doing some math, some finances math, and I realized I have been spending about $60 a month. So I quit. I quit smoking. I'm done permanently. At least smoking cigarettes. I might occasionally smoke some weed, but frankly, smoking in general, it used to be something I really enjoyed. Just like the act of it, I enjoyed it. But less and less do I enjoy it, and I have more respiratory problems. So it's like that is not a great idea. So I quit smoking, and then I was like, well, hang on. That $60 to $80 a month was already kind of like a fun money thing because I didn't need it, I just wanted it, right? So now I'm putting that aside. Like every time I would have gone and bought a cigarette or a pack of cigarettes, I just put the money in one of my savings accounts, and I anticipate perhaps being able to buy a few more fiber arts related things, like maybe a little bit more regularly. I can just sort of redirect where that money was going to something that actually brings me joy instead of brings me money. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that actually. And I mean, also additionally, like the thing that actually triggered me to stop was that I lit up a cigarette and I realized I didn't even enjoy the first drag. And like that's the best drag. So if you don't even like the first one, it's like, oh my god, you're paying money to give yourself lung cancer while not even enjoying it. Like, come on, dude. So I stopped. I didn't even finish looking at it. I just stopped, and I haven't since. And I'm enjoying it. I've gotten a lot more knitting done on my breaks because I can't really knit and smoke at the same time. So a lot more knitting done. A lot more time just staring at trees. It's nice. That's great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy. I've quit before, but it wasn't of my own volition. I had to for surgery, and it was sort of like or you could keep smoking, but you would die. And I was like, okay, guess I'll stop. But then, I don't know. The thing about like when you're forced to quit something, even if even if you do successfully quit it, you still lack motivation to stay like clean from it, right? So as soon as something shitty happens, it's like, well, back to the same old, and that's exactly what happened with me. As soon as I had a bad day, like a really bad day, I just went and bought a pack of cigarettes. But I think now I'm at the point where it's like I actually don't enjoy it, and I know I don't enjoy it, and so I just can't imagine going back to it. I really hope I will like permanently quit this time. I think I will. I found for whatever reason that addiction and withdrawal do not work the way with me. Like they don't work the way that it works for everybody else. So for that reason, I don't think I'm gonna suffer that bad. Like when I quit alcohol cold turkey after being a hardcore alcoholic for 3 years, I quit it cold turkey and I was fine. And that is not how it's supposed to go. Like at all. It's you're supposed to be quite sick for a while, and I literally was completely fine. So something's just up with that part of how my brain works. Very weird. That's great. You use MJ for pain relief and found that switching from smoking flower to heating up the flower and inhaling the vapor has reduced the cost and profit. Now that's an interesting idea. By vapor, does that mean that it's like, the weed, but it's sort of carried on water, or like instead of on smoke? I don't totally understand what you mean there, but I'm intrigued by it. Like I do, I smoked a fair amount of weed, but I would call myself a weed in most cases. So I'd love to hear a little more about that. Though. There's a reason that I mark this stream as not friendly, by the way, and it's because we do talk about drugs sometimes. I don't know. Drugs are a part of life for many, many, many humans and have been for thousands of years. So I'm not going to shy away from the topic necessarily. Although, if anybody wants like a warning of some kind before I foray into a drug topic, that would be totally understandable. Vapor is mostly the different terpenes and actives that get released by heat. When you smoke, you get that plus the results of combustion. Oh, okay. That makes sense. So you just like heat it, but you don't light it on fire, and then sort of breathe in what smells come out. That's interesting. That does sound like it would be a bit better for your lungs too, because like I feel like there's got to be a difference between inhaling straight up smoke into your lungs and inhaling like that. I don't know exactly how I classify that or how to classify that, but it seems like it'd be a little better for you. And it definitely makes sense that it stretches longer too. That is cool. My apartment has a very strict no smoking policy. And so I haven't been smoking anything of any kind indoors. And I think vapor it would probably be iffy as well. Because you can totally smell what other people are doing when you're out in the main room, and somebody would 100% tell on me. So I just take gummies pretty much as my main vice at this point. I do drink occasionally, but I'm like, I went down from 3 bottles of wine a night, where I was at the height of my alcoholism, to maybe 1 cider every couple of months, which I think is a hell of a lot better. I definitely don't have as many hangovers, which is a plus. Sure. What are you doing? I almost feel like I could go up to the bigger wall. Like, I'm not sure if I'm getting enough twist in here, but I'm also kind of thinking the lowest effort way to move this onto another bobbin, because winding is really, really hard on my hands. I want to avoid it if at all possible. So what I could do is just run it through my e-spinner and have the take up pretty high so that there's not a ton of twist being added. And so the fact that this seems to be a little bit too low on twist wouldn't actually be an issue because I could just, I'd be adding twist when I moved it over. So I'm not sure if it's worth moving up to the next bobbin, but I will say I'm definitely not adding enough twist on this bobbin, or on this whorl at the moment. Like, I'm not treadling very slow, it's just, it just wants more twist than I'm giving, I think. You don't mind talking about drugs, but honestly, what you're mostly thinking about is how you wish hemp was, God, I cannot read today, how you wish hemp was easier to legally grow so you could try spinning it. That's valid. I spun hemp before I ever smoked a joint. Hemp is really fun to spin, by the way. I found it a lot easier than spinning flax, but it's similar to spinning flax. And so it helped me get my foot in the door because I tried flax spinning quite a few times before that, so really no avail. And after spinning some hemp, it kind of clicked into place for me, how to spin bast fibers. I sourced mine on Etsy. I don't know if that might work for you. But I got mine pretty cheap on Etsy, and I really liked it. I thought it looked just fine. They do the same thing of cutting it up into shorter lengths, though, that they do with flax, which is infuriating, but, everyone does it, so you get used to it, unfortunately. You're a big fan of running things through again to fix twists. Oh yeah, same. It's so satisfying too. Like it can be frustrating if you have to do it a whole bunch, or like keep making the same mistake and having to fix it that way. It can be frustrating in that kind of situation. But for the most part, like I really don't have any problems with running something through to fix twist. Like it's so fast, it's so fun, and it's not too difficult. But it's also not like mindless because you have to pay attention to how much twist has been added. And, anytime you find like a spot that had a lot more twist or a lot less twist, you have to adjust a bit. Like it feels like sort of a nice level of stimulation where you don't have to think too hard, but you get all the fun and the spinniness of doing it anyway. And it's also so easy as a fix. Like most fixes are not that easy and not that obliging. So yeah, that is amazing. I just hit my first badly prepared spot. Actually don't even know what happened there. It looks, oh, I let go. It looks like maybe it just got knotted at some point, and then it didn't have a chance to unknot. I don't know. Weird. So, typically speaking, um, the brightness, like this, sometimes the saturation, but also the brightness of a fiber is going to be less when it's just in fiber form, and that will increase once you spin it. And that is literally the opposite of the case of what's happening here. It's darker as a Rolag, and then it's lighter as a spun yarn. I've never had that happen before. I'm so confused and kind of fascinated. It's nice to know that you can fix it if you mess it up the first time. Yeah, for sure. Before I realized that you could do that with spinning, I felt like I was sort of white knuckling everything. Because it was like, I didn't realize that, even the most completely fucking unusable yarn, if nothing else, you can like tear it into pieces and recard it and respin it, and you'll get something pretty interesting. And that's like the most high effort, last resort kind of fix. Like there are lots of quick, easy, beautiful fixes, such as, a fix that I employ all the time, which is if my singles comes out incredibly lumpy and uneven and terrible, you just gotta spin 2 more singles and free fly it, and no one will ever know. Like it'll even out to an extent where nobody will ever know. And once I learned that, I felt a lot better. I felt like I could relax more, when spinning, because it wasn't like this has to be good or the final product is going to be bad. Not the case if you know how to fix it. Fuck, are you destroying my furniture for fun? For enrichment purposes? Just sort of pouting at me now. Calling her out, I guess. My hands are not turning green, no. Although that's a fair point to bring up because I hadn't looked at them. But no, clean hands, not green. And these are, I don't know, I'm so confused. It's like it's subtle. It's not that one is multiple shades darker than the other. But you can definitely probably hold them side by side in real life. I assume not on the webcam, but that's typical of the webcam. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I will say this fiber feels quite odd. The more I work with it, the more I wonder slightly if it's superwash. I haven't worked with a whole lot of superwash. Really only one bag of superwash that I got from somebody who was just giving away. Like they brought their fiber stash to de-stash at a fiber fest, just like literally giving it away. So I got a bag, not knowing it was superwash at the time. And now that I do, and I've spun a little sample of it, I really hate the texture so much. But like maybe that was just the texture of that superwash. Because this has like a similar texture that tones down a ton. It's got that like sort of slightly scratchy, slightly plasticky feel to it. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know. Have any of you ever spun superwash? Do you have any insight on like, you know, if the texture can change depending on the batch or other factors? I have so little about superwash, so I'm really ahead of my own when it comes to that. Superwash acts so weird. I agreed. It's very odd. I just like the thing that I have a problem with regarding superwash is just the environmental impact. And that's true of many of my fiber arts related many of my fiber arts related qualms are environmental based. Like non-natural dyes is sort of the same thing. Like I use what I use because my mom is a staunch environmentalist, and if I even dreamed about not doing that, she would be yelling at me in my head for days. So, but also I really like that, like normal wool has the ability to felt because I use felting a lot. So if it couldn't felt, that would kind of be like it's missing a feature. There are times where I've been tempted because, like, I don't know, nobody else in my life would ever hand wash anything. Like, not ever. I've asked them to, they won't. They know how, they won't do it. And I've accepted that. But it basically means that they do not get gifts from me. Even though I would like to give them gifts, I'm not going to give them something they'll either never wear because once it gets dirty, that's it. Or, you know, wear once, throw in the wash, and immediately ruin like I told them not to do. That would really piss me off. I basically don't give them gifts, or if I do, it's cotton or it's got some kind of superwash element. And until now, I didn't really know how to spin cotton at a gauge that was usable in most applications. So, yeah, I basically just have to buy mill spun when I'm giving gifts to people. And I'm not a mill spun fan. For some things I am, but like for everyday spinning, it's not for me. So like I've been tempted sometimes by superwash because then at least I could give them something hand spun. But my issue there is I've just heard such different things about whether superwash is actually superwash. Like, you know, you can wash it, but what if you can't dry it? And I don't want to take that chance, you know? So I haven't. I just don't know what to expect from it, you know? How many Rolags in are we? Is that uh is that 3 or 4? I wasn't counting. But I think we might only be like 3 or 4 in, which is awesome. I might not need to card anything else to finish this up. which would be great. I don't want a card right now. That'd be awesome. I really need to rest my wrist. I finally went and got some more compression gloves after, well, compression cuffs this time. I couldn't find my usual gloves because I lost them a while ago. And then now they don't seem to sell them anymore. So yeah, at the moment, lots of wrist pain. Hopefully soon, less wrist pain. Hey, no. Found the bag of wool. Probably should have known better than to leave it there. Hang on. There we go. The bag of wool. Oh, actually, I was kind of curious what people thought. So I have two main colors of this wool. One of them is sort of like if acid green were toned down a ton, and the other one feels sort of like a teal. You're not going to get the accurate colors here, but this is the acid green. It's green, not yellow. And this is the teal. And at the moment, I've only been spinning the teal. That's all I use, but I almost wonder, like, I don't know. Maybe the green would work too. I'm really not sure. It might be a moot point because like I said, I don't think I'll need to make any more Rolex for this project. But I feel like that could have worked as well. I just wasn't sure going into it. Was that heck yeah about the acid green, or was it about something else? I forgot to look at the chat for a minute or two. It's really hard to tell since the colors don't come through, right? Yeah, I know. I always feel the need to try just in case, and I feel like it's honestly pretty pointless at this point. So that's fair. The compression gloves get so sweaty so quickly, they end up too gross to wear more than 10 minutes. Oh, that sucks. That's terrible. I'm thankful to not be a particularly sweaty person. And my hands and wrists in particular don't seem to sweat much. So I got away scot-free on that one. But if I couldn't wear my compression gloves just sort of inherently, that would be a huge bummer for me. So sorry you have to deal with that. That sucks. Do you think it's because of the fact that they're always some sort of poly blend? And if you got a slightly more breathable material, do you think that might help? Or are your wrists just inherently sweaty even if there's nothing on them? Your heck yeah was for not needing the card or anything anymore. Agreed, frankly. I forgot that was also a thing that I said. Yeah. I've done so much carding recently. Most of it, or well, all of it cotton. And I like carding cotton. My wrists just don't like me when I card cotton, if you know what I mean. So it's always interesting to me that whenever there's a group of spinners in the room, they're all have chronic health issues or chronic illnesses or are disabled or something. We don't seem to attract abled people, which is kind of nuts. I don't know. Makes me feel a little bit more at home in the community, But it does make me wonder why so many of us choose fiber arts. Maybe because a lot of them are sort of sedentary, and so if you're not able to be very active, it's that or it's painting. And painting is pretty difficult, so, maybe it's just that. Maybe it's that or reading. That would make some sense to me. I got into fiber arts as, hey, fuck? Hey, no. Terrible behavior. Come here. Thank you. I got into fiber arts after all of the other hobbies I picked because I could no longer do my main hobby, which was running and playing sports. Then I couldn't do any of the other hobbies like writing or drawing that I had gone to after I stopped being able to play sports. And yeah, and now I'm sort of like, I can't do this very much longer either, but I will hold on to it as long as I can because I care about this so much more than I ever cared about sports. It's kind of ridiculous. I wish I'd just done this from the get-go. Fuck sports. But you are being an absolute mess for no reason. She has food, by the way. If anyone thinks I'm starving her, despite her incredibly rotund appearance, no, she literally has food 6 inches away from her. Just a little goblin. I feel like it started getting a little more shy. No. Buddy. I can't actually reach for you. Yeah, it's getting a little less consistent. I'm not actually sure why. I'm guessing this is just a sort of crappy roll lag. They weren't all quite as good. I was rushing on the last couple because I realized or I thought anyway, that my alarm was about to go off like in a minute or two, so I rushed through. And then I actually looked at my alarm once I was done, and I still had 10 minutes left on my lunch. So yeah, I rushed for no reason. And yet, badly prepped wool was still a lot more spinnable than badly prepped cotton, it seems. But at least I can achieve the diameter I want, just with a couple of slugs. You've been obsessed with fiber stuff since you were a little kid, but that does seem to be the case. Yeah. I mean, I will say, I was obsessed with it, but didn't know how to get into it, if that makes sense. Like, there were. I went to the farmer's market as a kid every Sunday, usually Saturday too. And there were a couple of older people who would bring their spinning wheels and just chill. And they didn't get out of here, Chuck. Very annoying. They didn't ever let me use them, which bummed me out at the time. But in retrospect, I would not let a small, incredibly hyperactive stranger child use my spinning wheel either. So I get it. But I was always so fascinated. I would usually just sit next to them, watch them spin. And then another person had brought over a small loom to make scarves on, and was letting people just try it for fun. And I think I sat at that thing for like 2 or 3 hours, made multiple scarves. I just loved it. Like, I thought all of it was so fucking cool. First, made multiple scarves. I just loved it. Like, I thought all of it was so fucking cool, but I lived in a really rural area, and we didn't really have the internet. Like, we had dial-up, but it wasn't good, and my parents were always on the phone, so we basically didn't have internet. So I just didn't have a way to keep going with that until my best friend taught me how to crochet, and then it all took off. But I wish I had known that it was possible, like that was something I could do and get good at from the start. I think I would have been happier. But that's okay. You know, I'm appreciating it now as well. Your mom crocheted, you'd cut little tapestry kind of looms out of cardboard until your mom made you stop because you were using too much yarn. Oh, that's funny. I hope she then taught you how to crochet. I think I'm realizing why this fiber had been so hard to work with the other times that I tried. It has so many like knots in it. Like, I don't know, it's not second cuts, and I can never remember the difference between nets and noils. I know there is a difference, I can't remember. So I wonder if these are nets or noils, but either way, like, wow, I've never come across a piece of fleece that has so damn many. I'm gonna pull them out like every couple minutes or so. Well, that's a second cut. Maybe some of them are second cuts. I just feel like second cuts don't usually feel like they knot into the yarn. They just kind of cause inconsistency in other ways, you know? Still can't make anything but basic shapes. Oh, in crochet, but it's good for blankets. Yeah, I mean, for sure. That's all you need, honestly. Picked up knitting from a family member as a teenager, and I've been doing that ever since. Nice. I think I would have gotten there a tiny bit sooner if I had any crafting relatives that lived anywhere nearby. Sorry, I'm just putting some tiger balm on my wrist because they're really killing me. But I didn't, though. Like, I didn't know anyone who actually did those things outside of old farmers market ladies. So I'm glad you had some people to teach you. That is awesome. I might have to get up briefly and grab my like prescription nerve pain gel. But I'm going to see if this works first, so because it's sitting next to me. Yeah, sorry. Bear with me, guys. Necessary pause in the spinning. Just gotta let it dry a little bit. Second cuts can turn into neps or noils. Okay, I didn't know that. That explains what just happened like 5 seconds ago. So that makes sense. Spinning was the last thing you picked up. You wish you'd done it sooner. Man, what was the last thing I picked up? That's hard. I mean, like, I guess I picked up Sprang, but I don't know if I could even say that I have picked it up because I do it so infrequently. I feel like I learned knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving, fiber prep, and natural dyeing and wool washing. And I've been stuck on those for a while and have not had the time to branch out, maybe. I'm not sure. And maybe it's less about like what I do often and more about what I have done enough to feel comfortable in it. Those are the only ones I've done enough of to feel comfortable. Like, I've done some null winding. I've done done some spraying, I've done some lace making, but not enough to really feel like I could just sort of sit down and make whatever project comes into my head, which is how I feel about all of those other ones. So spinning is definitely, it's a great craft, and especially when you know other fiber arts that require yarn, it just unlocks a whole other level in every single one of them. I always recommend when I meet knitters or spinners or weavers who don't, or sorry, knitters, crocheters, or weavers who don't spin. I'm always like, hey, have you ever thought of learning how to spin? Like opening my coat and there's a bunch of wool inside, and I'm like, hey, you want to buy something? Spraying is so interesting. It is. I want to get better at it so badly. It's not portable though, and at the moment, my main home project, like, it's portable unless you're riding the bus to work, and then at work, it is not a project I can do at work. I've thought about it. It's a bad idea, but it's so cool. Like, it's so fascinating, and the fiber that it, or not the fiber, the fabric that it produces is really, really cool. It's got so many possibilities. I would love to somehow get a sprung loom big enough that I could actually make like a decent sized piece of fabric. Because at the moment, no. At the moment, I'm getting like a fucking 5 by 5 inch square after a couple hours of work, and it would be a hell of a lot faster if I just scaled it up a little. So I'm on the lookout for a sprung loom that would work for me. Because these bent branch things, hang on, let me show you my. It's actually sitting right here. So, why did I do all of this? Why did I make all of these choices? Okay, we're getting there. Slowly getting there. Bear with me. Okay. This, hang on, you can't see it. This is my bent branch sprung loom. I have a couple, but this is the biggest one. And it works really well. It's just, it only makes tiny ass things. And it's like, I want a big thing. I want to at least be able to make a bag. I tried making a bag when I was doing this last time, and it's the saddest, tiniest bag you ever saw in your life. So yeah, I just need a bigger one because I cannot imagine what useful item I could make that I could make on that side of life. So yeah, I just need a bigger one because I cannot imagine what useful item I could make that I could make on that size, you know. Gotta have some spindles in your coat too. That's true. I just don't have a lot of drop spindles, and I've tried introducing people to spinning via supported spindles, and it does not seem to go well. I think largely due to the lack of literature, but also I do think inherently supported spindles are a little bit harder than drop spindles, like to learn on. They're not harder to use, but they're harder to learn on and to understand. I don't know, that's my opinion anyway. You've been wondering if you could put the sprang on your rigid heddle loom, but also you don't want to have a project on it forever. I don't know if that would work. The thing is, like the important part is the negative space here. That's not what defines that is not what defines the size of the piece, but you need negative space like here and down here. You need that so that your hands have somewhere to go, and so that when you're warping it, you can actually fit your shuttle just over that. And so pretty much everything so far that I've tried, even if it nicely held all my stuff in place, and even if it was a good size, there was no room for me to actually warp it. and I can't figure out how to. I don't think you can transfer a warp, like a sprang warp, onto something else, as far as I can tell. So I don't know if it would work. I think it's worth trying, but I would try it on a very small scale first, just so you don't waste a lot of yarn, because I don't think it'll work. I was looking at some frame looms too, but then the other thing is, like, it's not like with weaving where you want a specific EPI, you know? You want to be able to squish everything around and slide it around and move it. You don't want it held in place. In fact, if you have it held in place, you will have a much, much harder time actually working. So the flexibility of everything and the movability of it seems kind of key in easily working on it. And if it's not easy, then it's going to really hurt your hands. Can you sew pieces together? Yes, absolutely. But the seams are ugly as fuck, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm sure it's possible to at least greatly reduce the ugliness of the seams, but I've tried sewing sprang together before, and I've made a lot more that I haven't sewn together. And what I've noticed is that because there aren't really clean ends or clean sides, and because it's really stretchy and movable, it's incredibly difficult to sew together pieces of sprung and have them not look really messy, and sometimes even like literally messed up. So yes, but it might not be it might not work out, you know. Like if I wanted to make a coat or something out of sprung, or even a skirt out of sprung, I would not want to sew them together, or at least I wouldn't want to sew a lot of tiny pieces together. If I had to sew, you know, like 6 or 7 really long sort of scarf-shaped ones for a pleated dress, or a plaited dress, forget the word, that would be more doable. But a bunch of small pieces, a lot less doable, I think. Because eventually it's just going to be more seam than sprung. I really got to show the sprung bag that I made. I'm actually kind of embarrassed. So bad. I guess sprung can wait then. That's fair. I mean, just as sort of a meditative exercise, I enjoy it on that merit alone. Because it is kind of just fiddling with string until you get something in like its most purest form, if that makes sense. And it's pretty, very pretty, but I've had a really hard time coming up with uses for the things that I make because they're all too small and they don't sew together well. So yeah, I'm looking for a bigger sprung loom. It's just it's difficult to know like what would work for me due to physical limitations, and they tend to be really big. So I did at one point come across a video of somebody demonstrating sprung on the back of a chair, and she actually had a pretty damn good like piece, you know, like it was, the fabric that she created was pretty big. I only just remembered that. I gotta go looking for that again and see if maybe, oh damn it, see if maybe that would be applicable, because I feel like it could be. I don't actually have a chair like the one that she used, but I could get one for sure. Oh, there we go. This tiger's balm on my hands has not helped my spinning. I'm not gonna lie, because it's like still sticky even a couple minutes later. Oh well though. But I do really want to get back to sprung, especially because I think it would be incredible as a summer blanket as well. Like just as a way of making one, I think it'd be awesome for that. It's inherently stretchy. It has all the same properties of all my other favorite summer blankets. And if I was using a chunky cotton yarn, I think that would probably work super well. So I want to come back to it for sure. I just think I would rather like knit or crochet one first. And I think I'm going to knit it also, just so that I don't have to spin quite as much of it. I don't know exactly how much yarn garter stitch takes up compared to single or double crochet. I'm guessing it's not a huge difference. Like I know stockinette versus double crochet, pretty big difference. But garter stitch takes up a lot more than stockinette. So I don't know. I guess I could do a couple little experiments and see how far I get with one versus the other. That might be an interesting thing to do this weekend. I wonder if I spoke too soon about this going quickly, because we are an hour and a half in, and I have definitely not filled up the bobbin. I would say it's more like I've gotten to halfway of where I need to be. It's my guess. I'm looking at them right now. It looks like about halfway, which is a little too bad. But I don't know. I don't mind a couple more spinning streams. I might do. I don't have a lot going on tomorrow, I don't think. So I might do like a couple of different streams sort of peppered throughout the day to give my wrists a break, but to get through it a little faster. So maybe like a morning stream and then a noon stream and then an afternoon stream. And I bet I would get a pretty good chunk of it done. And then I just need to finish up the spinning and then apply it. Because I don't want to spend a week on this. To be perfectly clear, I don't. I want to get to cotton spinning at least by like Wednesday or something. So, because it's going to start to get hot soon, and I really need another summer blanket. Okay. Also, I can tell I'm flagging a bit because I'm treadling a lot slower. So I'm going to try and speed this up a little, but it's possible I might end up calling it once I finish this roll lag. I've got about half left, maybe a third, somewhere around there. I'll try and let you know if I think I'm going to end it. But yeah, my wrist hurt super bad, unfortunately. Fingers crossed that no compression does work. There's one brand that I've been buying for years, and I bought other ones as well. They haven't worked for me at all, but that one brand did. It worked really well, super helpful. And I think they might have gone out of business, or else they changed the product to the point that it's unrecognizable to me. I'm not sure which, but yeah, my wrists haven't been pleated since I stopped wearing those, because those were like I would wear them literally every day. But I lost them, so. I think it probably wasn't helped by the fact that I spent all day at work crocheting. I was assigned to do voicemails and answer phones, and for once it was my turn to like start the day when we already had almost no voicemails in there. So I was basically just sitting there chilling, answering phone calls as they came in. And a lot of the phone calls that I get are people, like they just involve a lot of talking and not a lot of typing or clicking. So a lot of people asking like, what our clinic does or something like that. And that is entirely verbal, and I can very easily crochet that entire time. So I got a lot of that done, at least. I'm pretty happy with where it is, but I think I need to take a break on that too, fortunately. I'm just very afraid of tendonitis. I've gotten tendonitis so many times by now. I'm very prone to it. I get it very easily, and it takes so long to heal. And every single time I get launched into a deep depression, and it goes really bad for me. Because this is like one of my main coping mechanisms, if not potentially my only coping mechanism. So yeah, without it, I not have a good time. So I'm definitely like, prioritizing my risks over anything else, except for my need to finish things. Unfortunately, can't prioritize over that. I tried. Yeah, so I might even do it tonight, but I could move all of this onto one of my e-spinner bobbins, just to free up the bobbin, and then I can do the same thing. Or actually, I wouldn't even need to do the same. Oh, I would, yeah. I could do the same thing with the second batch that would be going on here to fill it up to the required amount. So I might do that tonight, or I might do it probably before stream later, because it's not like a super interesting thing to stream, I imagine. Literally just running it through the spinner. Yeah. Definitely want to avoid tendonitis. Agreed. Hard agreed. I didn't realize that there'd be quite so much like play in terms of the colors I'm getting out of this. I knew that it wasn't dyed just like one color, like there's a little bit of variation in there, but it doesn't usually like stay so obvious after it's been carded. I feel like it tends to sort of change around, and also the bits that are different colors are few and far between, and I was intentionally picking them out. But nonetheless, I've ended up with some Rolags being noticeably brighter, and then sections that are just like totally different colors. I think that should still work okay. I wanted a more solid background for the main singles, because that's sort of the star of the show, right? So I wanted a more solid background, but I think like it's not variegated like that one is, so I think it's probably solid enough. Fingers crossed, but I think it will be. We'll have to see. I did get most of the VM out when I carded it, which was nice. Sometimes carders work really well for removing VM for me, and sometimes they don't do a single thing. So after a week of cotton experiments where they all didn't do a single thing, I kind of forgot that carding can help a lot in terms of removing VM. But it really depends entirely on the fleece, I'm really excited about the potential dyeing tomorrow. Um, but I'm also kind of thinking, like, I bet it will not work for me. I bet it's going to take a couple of different dye materials being sacrificed to really get this to work. Or at least I really wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. And that does scare me. So. But I mean, I need to do at least a little test just to see what dyeing it, like whether it compacts it and shrivels it up. Because if it doesn't at all, when you're using actual cotton mordant, if it doesn't at all, then there's really no reason for me not to. But if it does, I'll just stick with my original plan and not do it. Because it is a complete pain in the ass to try and card those ones that have been dyed already, because they're like, they just require, you know, twice the amount of passes for still not as good of a result, which is the exact opposite of what I feel like doing right now. But nonetheless, I'm excited thinking about it. And like when the daffodils bloom too, I don't know if they will this year. We haven't had them the last couple of years, but typically like the roadsides and streets are all just covered in daffodils in this city for a good month or so in the spring, and we haven't had them yet. I don't know if we're past daffodil season or not. I hope not. But daffodil flowers make a really beautiful yellow as well. Almost done. I'm definitely going to call it after this roll lag because ow. Also, I'm really sleepy. But I think I got another 5 minutes or so of it, would be my guess. It'll be interesting to see your dyeing experiments. Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely going to take pictures on my phone, which has a much, much better quality camera. Not great, but I mean, you know, the bar is a potato pretty much. So yeah, I'm going to take some pictures and put them on Tumblr for sure. Daffodils are usually pretty early, but not knowing where you live, I can't for sure. Yeah, I think you're right. They're usually pretty early here too. And like May in this area is sort of like it's the transition between spring to summer is what May is around here. So I think since they're an early spring thing, yeah, probably yet again none. I don't know why. There was like so many when I moved here, and now I never see them. And I just don't understand why. Someone said it was something about the weather, like if they don't get a cold or a couple of cold snaps, they won't really bloom the next year, but I don't know if that's true. Like, we had a couple of cold snaps. It was fucking freezing for a while. I don't know. You think of daffodils being March? Yeah, March and February where I grew up. Yeah. All right. Well, no daffodils, sadly. Fair enough. That's okay. There's lots of other beautiful dye materials. There's also marigolds everywhere. I mean, they're cultivated. However, and like, okay, they're cultivated in people's yards. That said, I have a hard time feeling guilty picking the dried ones. Like I'm obviously not going to pick the brand new, like the beautiful ones. But if it's dried already, it can still be used for fiber, for dyeing rather. But it can't really be used for beauty at that point. Typically, they've also fallen on the ground. So I will do that if I can reach them, which is a big if. I guess I'll have to actually bring my fucking grabber around. I really hate my grabber, I'm not gonna lie. It feels like they make them look stupid on purpose. Maybe that's entirely me. It probably is. I'm very resentful of my grabber to the point that I basically never ever use it. Even though it would stop me from constantly dropping things on my head in grocery stores. You know, but you win some, you lose some. All right, we are approaching the very last bit of this particular roll-ag. I'm gonna go before I just like straight up pass out on stream, because that would be awkward and embarrassing. But I'm very, very tired. So, all right. So that's that. I'm pretty pleased with this amount. I mean, it just lost the end again. Hang on. I'm pretty pleased with this amount. I think it's a little over halfway what I needed. I think I must have slowed down tremendously, right? Like, near the end. Because the trajectory I was at when I started was not like this, but it is now. And to compare, there we go. That's the diameter we're going for. So we're getting there. All right. Good night, CRL. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everybody else who hung out on stream. Always appreciate it. Hope you all have a good night. Catch you next time.